Experience autumn's harmony in a bowl with my chicken and butternut squash soup with kale. This hearty one-pot meal combines butternut squash, beans, chicken, and earthy kale and can be ready in less than 30 minutes. Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Celebrate TV. I'm your host, Peter Lee. Today, our celebration is all about soup. It's getting colder, it's autumn time, and I get a little tired of the same old soups. So today, we're going to make chicken and butternut squash soup. Let's get started. This is one of my favorite soups. It's not your average butternut squash soup. You think creamy, bisque-like, a little different. We're going to start with a large Dutch oven. I'm going to put it over medium heat. If you don't have a Dutch oven, you can use a good sized stock pot, like a spaghetti pot. I'm going to add some olive oil, a couple of tablespoons. We're going to start building some layers of flavor. The first thing we're going to add is onion. This is one red onion that I diced up kind of finely because I want it to cook and soften pretty quickly, and it's going to give a lot of flavor. You could use white onion. I prefer the red onion in this. It adds a little sweetness and a little different flavor than plain onions. Up next is, of course, my favorite, garlic. I have 2 cloves here, just minced up. Right in. Now, this is butternut squash in this soup. And that's what we're going to use next. This is what a butternut squash looks like. Sometimes they're a lot bigger, sometimes a little smaller. This can be a little bit tough to prepare. You have to peel it and cut it and de-seed it, and it can be a little tricky. So at your supermarket, you can get it all pre-cut. Usually comes like this, and that's what I'm going to be using today. So that was a medium butternut squash, and it's about a pound, 560 grams, thereabouts. I'm going to give it a little salt and pepper. And we're just going to let this cook for 2 or 3 minutes. We want the onions to start to soften. It's going to get very fragrant. The squash will start to cook. You may get a little color on it, and that's okay. So just let this go, give it a stir. All right, it's been about 4 minutes. My vegetables are starting to soften. They're glistening. They're starting to sweat and release some of their flavors. Next step, we want to add my little secret ingredient here, and that is tomato paste. This is 2 tablespoons. Now, this is not going to make this into a tomato soup, but what it's going to do is add a layer of flavor that when you eat this soup, you're not going to taste tomatoes, but you're going to have that kind of umami, like, ooh, what is that? I'm making a little spot in the center. Put it in. We're going to let this kind of caramelize, cook a little bit for a couple of minutes, and that's going to cook the metal can flavor out of it and just intensify its sweetness. So we can start stirring this up with the squash. Just let it cook. All right, it's been about 3 minutes. My tomato paste is getting fragrant. You can start to smell it caramelizing a bit. Now we're going to add some chicken. I have here just 3 boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I cut up into bite-sized pieces. Now, if you're in a rush, you could just use a whole rotisserie chicken from the supermarket and just cut it up and shred it yourself. But I had these, super simple to use. Right in our pot. We'll give them a stir. All right, so let's keep building our soup. I want to add some more heartiness to this soup. And we're going to do that with cannellini beans. I have 2 cans here of white cannellini beans with their liquid. Each can is 15 ounces or about 425 grams. So we're going to pour this right in, juice it all. It's going to help them thicken the soup a bit. It's going to add flavor. Now you've noticed I have not added any more salt and pepper because these beans have salt in their juice and I don't want to overdo it. I have here about 64 ounces, just shy of 2 liters of homemade chicken stock. Now this is homemade, so I know how much salt is in it. You could use from the store-bought, the box stock, but get a lower sodium one. There we go. And then the final addition is kale. This is what kale looks like. It's on a stem. I just got one big bunch of it, and all I did was rip it off just that easily. And then you can tear it, or you can chop it with your knife, just like that, into smaller pieces. And we're going to put this all in this pot. Hopefully it'll fit. Now, if you can't find kale, or you're just not sure about it, you can get it already pre-chopped in the produce department. Usually comes in a bag. All right, I've got my kale in here. All we're going to do now is we're going to cover this, crank up the heat a bit, and bring it to a boil. Then we're going to reduce it down, and we're going to let it simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes. Now, one of the great things about this soup is you can change it. If you want to make this vegetarian, just omit the chicken and then use vegetable stock instead. And then you have this wonderful, rich vegetarian soup too. Here we are. It's been 30 minutes. My soup is, I think, done. I've cut off the heat. I'm just letting it kind of rest. So let's check it out. All right. Ooh, look at that steam. This is looking beautiful. All those colors. Now let's check and make sure our squash is tender. Oh yeah, falling apart. And so is the kale. Now this would be a good time to taste for seasoning to make sure we're right on the edge of salt earlier, but let's see what else we need. So let's have a little taste right there. That's pretty good. I need just a little more pepper, I think. Good grind. All right. Give this a little stir. Now, let's dish this up and taste it for real. I have a nice big bowl here. Look at that. Get some of that squash and beans and chicken. Ooh. Beautiful. How good does that look? So let's give it a real taste. You know what? I think I need one more thing, one more little layer of flavor. This isn't in the recipe, but I did this when I was testing. I'm going to add just a little bit of horseradish to my bowl. And this will just give it one little extra oomph. It's delicious without it, but I like it just a little bit of heat, a little bit of acid from the vinegar and the horseradish, a little bit of brightness. All right, here we go. Wow, that was wonderful. Let me get a little bit of the kale and a piece of chicken. Here we go. Very hot. All these flavors have come together. It's rich. It's somehow light, but it's hearty because of the beans in there helped thicken it and make it velvety. You get the sweetness from the squash. You get that earthiness from the kale. Chicken just makes it wonderful and hearty too. So, so good and warming. I think I need to wash this down. Today I'm having a little Chardonnay from our friends at Bridge Lane Wineries out on Long Island. That's a nice pairing with this too. All right, if you'd like to get this recipe in your inbox, then go ahead and sign up for our newsletter and you'll get an email every week. And remember, if you liked this episode, if you learned something, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell, and you'll never ever miss an episode of LCTV. Now then, I am going to go serve this to my family for our supper tonight. While I do that, I want you to watch some of these episodes over here. So until next time, everyone, cheers.